Hello and welcome to episode 315 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Dad FF. We are fresh off the NFL Combine. Snoog and I are absolutely stoked to start talking about who's rising up boards, who's moving, what guys are confirmed. You know, like a lot of times we're talking about how's this guy going to test? What does it look like? And this is just that next piece to the puzzle. We talked about it early on where there are going to be multiple windows where players are going to rise and fall. This is one of the major ones at the Combine. A lot of guys that we really love tested out well. I love my C4 blue bombsicle. This draft was the absolute, I know I'm going to sound old, but these guys, this running back class was the bomb. They were guys that really stepped up, Snoog, and I'm excited, man. This is just a little bit closer to draft season, and it has me on cloud nine.
Yeah, historical running back class. As we all know, we've been talking about this for months now. They confirmed it. A lot of the guys that maybe some had doubts for that we're going to talk about today, athletic-wise, and how they can test and kind of show off their skill set, improved and really improved draft stock. We're going to get a historical run in that round 2 to 3 to 4 range. I think there's literally going to be 12 running backs plus taken in that round 2 through 4 range. So we're going to gear up. We're going to get you guys ready for who we're targeting and why. Again, the Combine doesn't change everything. It's a piece to the puzzle. There's so many other things. If I like a guy on film better, but he runs a 0.03 slower 40 than the other guy is not going over the guy that I likes film better. So it's just confirming things and giving us better values and giving us players that, okay, he can actually do this really well. Why didn't he do this in college? So players get better. So I'm excited to jump into this one.
Yeah, well, we have guys like Travion Henderson run a 4.43. We're like, that's confirmed.
We knew it.
That's what we knew it was going to happen. When we have some of these other guys, you're like, oh, wow, this really moves us up in the other area. And a lot of people are asking me, they're like, oh, Caleb Johnson tested at a 4.57. Let's forget about him. And you're like, no, he has elite production. There are so many guys, Alvin Kamara, James Cook, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, all ran a 4.5 plus that were fantastic players. They're incredible in the NFL. Snoog, only 25% of running backs have, in the last 10 combines, have run a sub 4.5 40, right? This particular class had 13. That's absolutely wild. And I think when you look at that, it just confirms that this class is going to be extremely deep. This class is one that you're going to find guys with diamonds in the rough. And that's why we're really excited to jump into this episode of Post Combine Risers. The first guy, Quinshon Judkins, comes out and just squashes doubters, right? You and I have had him pretty high throughout the process. A lot of people have really doubted on it. But now, after what we've seen at the Combine, after what we've seen for his raw score, how impressive he is, he's right up there with the big dogs in this class. Like, he's firmly right there with Travion Henderson at this point. Like, those guys are neck and neck. We like Travion a lot more going into the Combine, but Quinshon really showed out. I mean, some of these athletic scores are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, when you want to talk about my favorite running back just in general and favorite player in this class, it's Quinshon Judkins. This is a guy that comes to Ohio State, gets less touches, all the dirty work that you don't want to see for fantasy football, and just plays that role and carves out an elite skill set for that offense. And a big reason why they made it so far, because Travion couldn't do the dirty work, right? So they brought in a guy like Judkins who can do it all. And he really, out of anybody at the Combine, in my opinion, had the biggest draft stock improvement. And I already had him graded. I was a round 2 guy. I think he's at the point now where you can start throwing his name around with that first round grade type player. Like, he is a guy that does everything and confirmed his elite athleticism. He had the second fastest 5-yard and 10-yard splits at the Combine. And he was the first 220 plus pound running back to have an 11-foot broad jump, a sub 4.5 40, and 38 plus inch vertical. And that was from Blake on Twitter. I don't know the exact handle, but I'm posting my thread tonight and I have it quoted and I have him tagged in there. So he put that out there and it's just something you want to see. But 1.51 split at 221 pounds is ridiculous. And the best part about it is I liked him and I graded him out that highly, thinking he wasn't that great of an athlete. I thought his short area and his burst and his explosiveness, his first 0 to 10 yards was elite. And a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't see it, didn't think he was a good athlete, thought he had no lateral ability, no burst. You were wrong, and it's okay to be wrong, but this guy is absolutely phenomenal within the first 15 yards, and he's an absolute power back bruiser. Checks every box, 6 foot, 221 plus pounds, 1,500 yards as a true freshman, one of 2 running backs in this entire class to do so. Mm-hmm. The other one, Travion Henderson. And he can catch the ball well. He can get the ball on early downs. He can win outside. He can win between the tackles. Just everything you want to see, and he confirmed that. So he's comfortably he was my RB3/2B alongside Travion Henderson. This damn well chance that he's going to be the RB2 overall post NFL draft for me. And NFL wise, I would take him over Travion, but for fantasy football, I think Travion just projects a little bit better, especially in full PPR. But these two are dogs, and I think Quinshon just had himself a big day.
Yeah, I have Quinshon just above Caleb Johnson now. My RB2 now after the combine is confirmed for me. It's Omarion Hampton. You look at his raw score. I mean, we're looking at 9.93 out of 10. Snoog, there's been 1,909 running backs that have come to the combine since 1987. Only 13 of them have had a more athletic score than Omarion Hampton. That's unbelievable. Like, he's got the number 1 score for athleticism based off of this class. And I'm going to pull up some of these. I mean, like what you saw from him, we know he's, 21 years old, early declare, 6 foot, 220. So many guys in this class, Snoog, we talk about last year, years prior, you're like, oh, this guy does this well, or that guy does this well, or he's not quite big enough, or this guy does this, but he's a little bit slower. He ran last year confirmed at a 21.6 miles per hour. He is an absolute beast when it comes to breaking tackles, 4.3 yards after contact. Right now, that's in the 97th percentile. Someone that averaged 24 touches, 150 yards, and 1.3 touchdowns per game. This is, I know you're not a huge fan, but from what I've seen from Omarion Hampton, like his stock rose drastically here. You look at him inside, he's got the proper weight. You look at his vertical, 38-inch vertical is unbelievable. His broad jump, 10-12. And a lot of you guys are like, why are you guys talking about broad jumps, vertical, that kind of stuff? So for me, what I really look at is when you talk about your 40 time, that is not your end all be all, but it proves your speed. It proves your explosiveness. Your broad jump really shows your explosiveness. That shows the guys that are going to be able to hit the hole and really accelerate through. And a lot of guys are going to say, well, such and such didn't test well in the past, or this guy. And some of the guys in their combine just didn't test out this year. And a lot of people put red flags on this, but Omarion Hampton has solidified himself for me as the RB2 in this class and as a guaranteed lock it in round 1 draft capital. Junty's rumored to go all the way at 6 to the Raiders now. Like, the Raiders were one of the teams that was really in on him, and he said he talked to them multiple times. Omarion Hampton, it looks like he could get top 15 draft capital, and if that happens, he's the 102 in Superflex, no doubt about it, especially with Tet McMillan not testing.
Yeah, I absolutely love it there. And I do like Omarion Hampton. That's like one thing I do want to make sure everybody knows is it's not that I don't like him. It's that people are trying to make that tier not a tier, and it's a tier. And that's what I'm trying to do and show people and prove to people is that everyone thinks that it's Hampton above Henderson, Judkins, and Caleb Johnson by a mile. And it's like, they're on the same level. And I will do everything I can to make sure my following, who cares about what I have to tweet and who I help in the Discord, knows that, so that they don't take Omarion Hampton 102 in the draft when they can get Judkins 109 and they both go to good landing spots. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to do. If Omarion Hampton was just in this class and those guys weren't, like, yeah, he'd be the rock solid RB2 by a mile.
Yeah.
But they're in this class. So that's the whole point.
You, man. What we've confirmed through the combine is 102 to 109.
They're all good.
If I can move from 102 to 109 and get an extra mid first or a 27 first, at this point, I'm doing it. Like, we saw a lot of players. I mean, you're going to see 5 running backs likely go inside the top 9. You're going to see Warren go inside the top 9. You're going to definitely see Cam Ward go inside that. Probably Shedeur Sanders. And you're going to get a ton of extra draft capital. Do you need to do it now? Absolutely not. But if someone falls in love with Omarion Hampton and they offer you the 105 and a 27 first, you smash that right now. You just get it done. You go ahead and lock that in, because there are very few scenarios here where he's going to separate himself that far. I mean, I think if he goes to the Raiders or the Chargers or the Cowboys, we're still going to see these other guys go early second two other really nice landing spots.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting. Those guys at the running backs position at the top really solidified themselves. Snoog, is there a new wide receiver one in this class? I know a lot of people are really saying Matthew Golden now, fresh off a 4.29 40, which is number one in this class. It's also among 190-pound wide receivers. It's number two in the last 25 years. So, I mean, he's a big dude. He can run. I mean, he's not big in size, but he's built, right? He's someone that's going to get open, someone that, he has a little bit to add to his route tree. But a lot of scouts are saying that he's likely the first wide receiver off the board. Does that make him the wide receiver one in Dynasty, or is it still Ted McMillan and Ibuka right ahead of him?
Yeah, it's not even close for me. Like he's
I
not
think he
even
burden for
remotely. He's not even remotely close to a Mecca or Ted McMillan for me. He's a good route runner, but this is the same shit we said with James. Remember Jamison Williams? Everyone thought he was going to be this elite burner, elite speed. He got the draft capital, and people were bumping him over Garrett Wilson, Drake London, because Olave. Yeah. Yes, it helps. Like Xavier Worthy, it helped him because he was already a good player, just like Golden. That he wasn't just a speed guy, but that doesn't make him a better wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr. or Rome Odunze, the guys above him, right? Like it's just confirming that he is good and he's fast and he can be that type of player in an offense. Matthew Golden's a smooth route runner. He was the go-to playmaker for Texas this year. I mean, he had like 980 plus yards, really stepped on towards the latter half of the year, stepped up big in the college football playoffs for them as well. Player that I was actually in on when he was at Houston, because I was watching Tank Dell film and I was like, who the heck is Matthew Golden and why is he good? And then when he transferred to Texas, my good friend's a big Texas fan, and I got to see a lot of him and got to watch a lot of him because of that. So he was always that kind of fun guy that's like a chess piece type player. I see some Robert Woods type in his game, or like I do see a little bit of that Stephon Diggs type, but I don't think he's as good or as polished as Diggs was coming out.
Yeah.
Diggs was also like a later pick though, but I could see him being a good number two, maybe a Jordan Addison type, but I don't think he's a Ted McMillan and Mac Buka where he could be a top 10, top 12 guy at his position. I could see you taking him over Burden, but I'd still prefer Burden because I think Burden has higher upside, but he's comfortably confirming that kind of wide receiver 4 or 5 range like we had him before, right there with a guy that we'll talk to maybe in a little bit about. We won't be talking about him today, but
those 10 and 20-yard splits are fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's explosive, dude.
He's explosive.
I didn't see that speed on tape, though.
Lance Zierlein compared him to Chris Olave in his latest, saying that he works all 3 levels of the field. He's someone that, you could put at any position in the wide receiver room. So he's going to be a versatile guy. Buffalo was talking about him late, but I think he looks like he might go in the late teens rather than the late 20s. And I think that might actually hurt him a little bit because like those late 20s have some really elite level quarterbacks that are going to be needing a wide receiver. I think Matthew Golden is the perfect example of what we're trying to talk about is tiering back. So knowing a guy in your league needs a wide receiver, I'm fine with that. You're going to be able to, in some leagues, you're going to get Matthew Golden at 110 to 202, and he could be the first wide receiver off the board. This is a running back class. Ted McMillan worries me that he did not test at all. Because it wasn't like when Marv didn't test, right? When Marv didn't
Drake
test,
London
you're like,
didn't.
He's going to go. So like, I think we're going to be able to use this for a little bit of incentive to kind of like bump him up boards, I'm sorry, not bump him up boards, but get a little bit of a discount on Ted McMillan. He's no longer in my 102 consideration at this point. If we're talking about Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, and what we're going to talk about next, is Jaxson Dart confirms his first round draft capital. I have a big riser as Cam Ward, who did nothing at the combine other than warm up his wide receiver Restrepo. Character-wise, he looks like he's just
carrying himself
as the
well.
clear QB1. Shedeur Sanders showing up with the bling,
been the clear QB1.
Talking the way he was. I think a lot of teams have now moved him consistently outside the top 5. They said the earliest he might go is 6. Cam Ward is going to go 1. Rather, the Giants, the Jets are preparing to try to trade up to get him at 1. And I actually love him going to New York because I think either way, he either gets Neighbors or Wilson. He's going to have an elite wide receiver right there. If he goes to Daboll, he's going to have a good coach. I think he's set up
with the Raiders.
Success. And I think he's in that 102 conversation more so than Ted McMillan at this point, in my opinion. And I'm excited to do our mock draft tomorrow or on Wednesday because we're always going to like try to
so much
see where
is going
the
to
next
change.
one goes. But Snoog, Jaxson Dart was clear cut the best quarterback at the combine. Jaxson Dart looked fantastic. He was making all the throws. He didn't throw an incomplete pass in his drills. You see guys like Will Howard, you were like, what was that?
Horrible.
Like you're in practice.
Quinn Ewers looked like crap too. No zip on the ball, underthrowing people.
Moreau threw a nice deep ball, but Jaxson Dart stole the show. Like he literally stole the show at the combine at the quarterback position.
In 2023 at the combine, when Bryce Young said, I'm not going to throw, and CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson went out there and competed with each other, Stroud was head and shoulders the best at that combine. Right away, got right into a rhythm, smooth release, technique was on on par with everything else. His eyes followed his footwork. Everything was just in rhythm. And to see quarterbacks like that get into a rhythm quickly with receivers that they've never thrown the football to ever in their life, that takes a lot of leadership, skill, talent type mentality to be able to go out there with confidence and throw to guys that you don't know how they attack the football. You don't know if they stop running when you throw the ball downfield. You don't know like the touch you got to put on the ball. Jaxson Dart looked really good, and I think he stood apart from everybody else. You don't have to pull out. There's no raw score for Jaxson Dart.
No, but
he looked really good, and he has zip on that football. Like he can put some mustard on it. While we're at it, before we transition into the next guy, let's pull up the comment in the chat that I dropped in there. Let's give Kent Lee at MathBomb on Twitter a little shout out here, because he's been doing phenomenal work with Ross for so long now. And I just want to give him a shout out because he's helping us with this video with a lot of the content he's doing. So make sure you guys go over there, check out all the work he's doing. You can get all of these charts on there openly. You could just go on there and check out the entire combine. You could compare players from 24, 23, 22 to this year, all the way back till 1987. So you could do fun comparisons for your player comps and stuff. But we're at the point, if Dart goes out there and crushes the interviews, he's probably going to be a top 15 to 20 pick for a hungry Saints, for a hungry Jets, for one of these teams that needs a quarterback badly. There's a chance.
Yeah.
So
you see this comment from Michael Kensel. Hey, fellas, another smash show so far. You guys are the professors of Dynasty. I'm the Dynasty Dad. I know professors here, but you guys and the Patreon are a must buy. Guys, right now the Patreon is booming. Like it is absolutely every single day. I'm getting 100+ DMs, and it's like I'm getting them out there. Snoog's doing the same. Patreon.com/smash accept. Throughout the rookie process, we're going to put you in position to smash your offseason. $5 a month, all the way up to $20, depending on what tiers you want, how much help you guys want. We'll help with you with the rookie drafts. We'll help you with your startup drafts. We have all of our content in there, the rookie guides in there, literally everything you could want, all in one place. Smash Accept Patreon. Make sure you guys check it out. The Patreon is a link. We will send you a link to the Discord. It is the fastest growing Dynasty Discord there is, period. No debate on that. Love the Jaxson Dart talk. I mean, 4,200 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, really accurate.
Rushing upside too.
69.3%. Thank you. Like the big arm, the decision making, but the mobility adds a little bit extra there. Where I think he is going to be a round one quarterback. And I think or early round two. Another guy that really helped his draft stock, Jayden Higgins, now flirts as potentially the top 6 wide receivers in this class. His raw score, a 9.87 out of 10, ranked 46th out of 3,408 wide receivers since 1987. That's really rare air, considering, he had 1,185 yards and 9 touchdowns. So the production profile's there. He's 6'4", that's in the 94th percentile. 33-inch arms. That means he's got some crazy wingspan. 96th percentile. His stock is rising. He is someone that I think, you and I liked him in the process. And that's what's cool about the entire draft process is we liked him early. We it wasn't that we, tailored off of him, but look at these scores. I mean, his vertical, 38 inches. His broad jump, over 10 feet. His 40 in that 4.47. And when I saw him in the gauntlet drill, Snoog, he was one of the smoothest wide receivers. Just the way natural hands catcher did not slow down the process. You know what I mean? A lot of times guys, they're doing that gauntlet drill and you see them slow down at the catch. He did not slow down. It was smooth. It was effortless. And I really like this wide receiver, potentially going day 2.
Yeah, he was one of those players that when I watched his film, I was like, if he's a true 6'4", it should be illegal to be able to move this fluidly and be able to release off the line of scrimmage like he does. His footwork, his rhythm, everything, his tempo and routes, his in-breaking, out-breaking routes are smooth, sharp cuts. Good player. Like, he just screams good player. I see him being like a wide receiver 2 on an offense. I could see him coming into the Dallas Cowboys on day 2 and being like that successor to CeeDee Lamb, like filling that Michael Gallup role, but actually being good and like being like that big field stretcher that is a contested catch monster that can run good routes, like being basically in that role what they wanted from Gallup, but Gallup literally couldn't do like some of it after the injury. But I could see him being like that guy that can be like a couple 1,000-yard seasons, 8-10 touchdowns in a year, maybe. Like, I saw a lot of like Allen Hurns, Kenny Golladay, Chase Claypool, like that big athletic freak that can win at all 3 levels type and win downfield. So smooth player, good route, or better route runner than all the guys that I just labeled. So that's what's cool about him too. He was in our top 7, top 8 with Travis Hunter included. I think he's definitely top 6, top 7 without Travis Hunter. Like, if we just take Travis Hunter and put him to the side and just grade the rest of the wideouts, I think he's definitely up there, probably right there with Trey Harrison behind Matthew Golden, like in that area above like Royals and stuff. But he's someone that I think confirmed round 2 draft capital for himself.
Yeah, the wide receivers, I think a lot of guys really showed up and kind of improved their stock. The running backs, I don't think anybody improved their stock more than, I'm not even going to try to pronounce. We're going to go Bhayshul Tuten, blows up the metrics on day 2. Now, does he now have day 2 draft capital? I mean, he was phenomenal. You look at what he did. His 40, 4.32. That's first. 10-yard split, 1.49. First. Vertical, 40.5. First. Broad jump, 10 foot, 10 inches. Second. And I think a lot of people are just, we fall in love with some of these metric guys, right? Like Isaac Guerendo, what came out of nowhere last year. Now, Tuten was a guy you and I have been talking about for a while, where he has, 3 seasons of double-digit touchdowns and 23-plus catches. We're always looking for 20-plus receptions. He has 3 seasons of that under his belt. 2 seasons of over 1,200 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. So he's not really, like, a lot of people tried to make Guerendo a second-round pick, and it was like, stop trying to make fetch a thing. It's not going to happen. But if you see what Tuten did at the combine, and you're like, damn, like, this is some elite level area. What do you think about Tuten? And should we be thinking that he could go day 2?
I think he's going to sneak into that day 2 range or early round 4, but he's a really high-end tackle breaker, and he's a guy that can force a lot of missed tackles, pretty good lateral ability. When I watched him
in 2023, he led all of college football with broken tackles.
I haven't got to all of his tape. I watched a little bit of his tape and dove into it. I loved the profile more than I liked the tape. To me, my socks were still on after I watched his tape. Like I said, I don't see what this guy does special besides kind of hit home runs that are given to him. He's a great tackle breaker, and I just didn't see many elite traits with him. But I said, this is a guy that's going to go on day 2. Like, this is a guy that in the right situation can be a really good fantasy asset, like a high-end RB2 type player, because the profile is good. He's an elite track star. He really reminds me of what we thought and wanted Sean Tucker to be coming out of Syracuse before the heart stuff with Sean Tucker, when he literally just couldn't play football. Like, wins in the same way, just gets the ball and goes type player. I would love to see him take that Raheim Mostert role in Miami and be that 1-2 guy with Devon A-Chain. He just doesn't scream the type of player that it's like, you're the workhorse for my offense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could be that, but like, he's not a Jud. Like, people have him over Judkins, Henderson. You're just getting cute at that point. Like, his film's not better. He's not a better player. He's not this big bruising back that can do everything. Like, he's more of that 1-2 change of pace. He's honestly what people want Dylan Sampson to be. And Dylan Sampson's plummeting down my draft boards. 5'8", 200 pounds, didn't test, like, plays like a power back, and he's not, like, I don't know, he's fast. He's not an elite receiving back. Like, I feel like Tuten profiles to be a better Dylan Sampson. Tuten's comfortably going to be in my top 10, though, now for sure. And he was in, I think, in my 11 or 12 before the combine. So definitely bumping up after that one. And he's a guy that gets the ball and you ain't touching him if there's a crease.
Shout out to Ryan Heath on Twitter. His athleticism rating, the Spork we're looking at our sport Q. Sorry, we're going that way. I mean, you look at Tuten scored in the 99.5. One thing that he put out there, this class has 6 players that produced over a 91%. If you look at that 91 percentile in the way that this works, your rate of RB1 seasons in their first 3 years, 26.9% of players that were over that 91 had an RB1 season within their first 3 years. The guys on this list, it's Omarion Hampton and it's Quinshon Judkins. They're the only 2 running backs. Now, if Ashton Jutty ran, I believe easily would have been
a 4-4 runner.
He's got nothing to prove. So that's 3. But these other guys on this list are the guys that we just flashed up here. It's Tuten, it's DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey, Montrell Johnson. Damian Martinez does not make the list, but he had a fantastic combine as well. This class, Snoog, it's elite at the top. Junty is right up there in that top level tier. But then these guys really start to take what was a horrible 2024 running back class, which was a not that deep 2023 running back class. And now we're adding these guys as all 1B type running backs. None of them are 1A, but I think all of them can shoulder the load in short times. But I think Giddens, Martinez, Harvey, Brooks, Tuten, we're starting to see a running back class that is adding depth outside the big 5. And we're not even talking about Neal or Scatabo or Sampson. We're talking about this next tier below that's starting to put a little bit of pressure on those guys.
And with early day 3 draft capital can jump into the tier with those guys above, honestly. Like maybe a couple of these guys, especially Damian Martinez, hit that 9+ raw score. He's a guy that I loved when he was at Oregon State, and I loved him at Miami too. He's been a player that I've been following comfortably his entire career. And he's someone that I think he clocked in at like 230 pounds or 226 pounds. If you want to go ahead, we'll pull up his raw score here for Martinez, but he checks every damn box you would want from a player like that. He played in 2 different systems. One was completely out of shotgun, more of that gun type run look. And the other one was a lot of under center looks. And he put up back-to-back 1,000-yard plus seasons. Early declare, checks every box, monster through contact, good patience, good vision, very elusive for his size. I can tell he cut down a little bit, probably 6, 7, 8 pounds for this 40-yard dash, but 4.51 at 217 pounds. That's really, really good speed. It really is for running backs. And he had a really good broad jump and a pretty decent vertical. So he showed he has that lower level, lower body explosiveness, good bursts out of the hole. And he's an absolute freight train when he's running the football. So he's one of those guys that could be that Ramondre Stevenson, that Brian Robinson, one of those day 3 guys. That's that round 4, round 3 type area that can be a 2-down bruiser that can be capable of catching 30, 40, 50 passes maybe in an offense. But another one too that we can talk about here is DJ Giddens, Dad. And he's someone that I was super high on before I really got to dive through his film. I was a little disappointed with his film just because he's one of those players that has a lot of growing to do. Like he's super gifted as an athlete, really elusive, really high-end tackle breaking and miss force tackles ability, but his raw tangibles and his between the tackle consistencies is where he's really lacking. And you want to profile him to be this elite receiving back because his profile shows that, but a lot of drops on film for a guy that got targeted as much as him. Like you want him to be like that Rashad White, James Cook type player. I think James Cook's honestly a really good comp, and they tested very similarly, and they came in very similarly as size, but Giddens is like 12 pounds heavier. So if you just look at the raw score here, 39.5-inch vertical, 10, like these are the numbers that NFL teams want to see with a Giddens that say, I can draft this guy in round 3 or 4. I can let him sit behind my Joe Mixon. I can let him sit behind my Alvin Kamara. I can let him sit behind my Christian McCaffrey for a year, have him learn, have him get better, more consistent, better between the tackles, and then he can be a starter in this league. And that's the type of player that Giddens kind of profiles as, right? So a lot of them are like that in this class.
So my January tweet was, I say, my favorite under-the-radar running back in this class is DJ Giddens. 6'1", 210, exceptional vision, patience, solid contact balance, nose for the end zone with 13 touchdowns. And I wrote, skill set to contribute immediately in a committee, but really develop into a feature back, because he's not – sometimes we're drafting polished products. Some of these running backs are coming out after their senior year. You're going to see them have 4 years of production, and you know what they are, right? But Giddens
Yeah.
is a guy that has a little bit more upside that I'm going to be getting in a
What-
lot of my drafts. Brashard
Yeah.
Smith is a guy that I know you're going to be loading up in a lot of drafts. He confirms his speed here with that sub 4.5 40. A lot of people are going to wonder about his explosiveness because, he had a 32-inch broad or 9.9 broad jump and 32-inch vert. So
He's
it
a
was
small
not
guy. So
was not there. But what people forget is we're again talking about a converted wide receiver who has a 700-yard receiving season under his belt. Like, this is a guy that's built for today's NFL. Like, he's going to be that perfect guy to throw in. You pulled it off of there. He's going to be that perfect guy.
I had Tahj Brooks up. You skipped him.
Yeah.
Pulling up Smith right now. He's up now.
But I mean, I think you're going to get a really nice receiving back, and I think he's got potential for more. Think like Antonio Gibson coming out or Tony Pollard when those guys like converted over. I think Brashard Smith is going to give you an opportunity to improve as a running back. Tyrone Tracy did the same thing as a converted wide receiver, and then you saw him turn into a 900-plus back. And I think Brashard Smith has some of that juice.
High PPR upside.
Gonna be late 2, early 3 in your rookie draft, and I think you could get a lot of upside if he goes to the right spot. Snoog, just like we were talking about Giddens, if he goes to the 1B role somewhere where he is a pass catcher and a third down back, but then somebody goes down, just like we saw when Singletary went down and Tracy filled in, you could have a spot where you're going to instantly be able to flip. Tyrone Tracy is not a great talent, but you went from drafting him at 304 to selling him for the 203 right now.
He's
and
one of those players
that
he's one of those players that he goes to the right coaching staff, like a Sean Payton, an Andy Reid, a Mike McDaniels, one of those guys, Sean McVay, that can utilize their players to their strengths. He's going to be really, really good when he gets given the, like, he could have a ton of PPR upside when given the role in an offense like that. Let's pull up Tahj Brooks here real quick, because you're going to love it for what he tested in the circuits that nobody else did. And I give him credit for that, because he knew he had to come to that combine and really show up, because he's a guy, the production profile, he's one of 3 running backs in the past 2 years to have 3,000 plus rushing yards in college football. Him, Omarion Hampton, and Ashton Junty. Look at his composite agility grade. And I love this. This is music to my ears, because literally in my rookie guide, I said one of the most elusive running backs in this class, super gifted laterally and explosive within the first 10 yards. And he showed that. Like, he was 5'9", 230 at the Senior Bowl, moving that well. And I saw that. I'm like, this guy's like so good. I saw a lot of James Robinson. You see a little bit of Le'Veon Bell with his patience and how he kind of presses the line of scrimmage and then waits for his blocks to form and then just takes off in a different direction. But he tested really solid for a guy that's usually a bigger back, more of that explosive 1-2 change of pace, elusive guy that's kind of like that bruiser too. But he cut down and he proved I can be everything. Like, he was a good pass catcher. His production profile as a pass catcher was really good. But his shuttle and his 3-cone were elite. Like, he was literally given an elite composite grade. Absolutely confirms everything I saw on tape with him. So that made me really excited. And he's a guy that no one's talking about right now that you're probably going to be able to get in that round 4, round 3 of your rookie drafts. So let's jump into these wide receivers here next.
That's what a lot of guys forget about is your round 4 matters. I mean, we're going to talk about some of these other guys that are deep RB gems to look for in round 4. Raheim Sanders ran a sub 4.5. Montrell Johnson did as well. Both of these guys really have some
9+ Ross scores too.
When you're drafting in the 4th round, forget about wide receivers. Like, your 4th round rookie draft wide receivers, you get a Puka Nacua once in a lifetime. That was just that doesn't exist. But when you get guys that are going to get Raheim Sanders was someone that 2 years ago in the Devy community was considerably higher than what he is right now. That man can run. So can Montrell Johnson. So when you get to that 4th round, take a shot on some of these kind of guys. Snoog, like, that's always been my principle. I don't hold a lot of 3rds and 4ths. I usually use 3rds because they have an 8% in the last 10 years, an 8% hit rate, meaning they get 1 RB1 or wide receiver 2 season in that time. Or I'm sorry, 1 wide receiver or running back 2 season. I think I don't have any kind of interest in that kind of hit rate. I use it to sweeten up something else, to get something else going in that area. We got a super chat in here from Michael. He said in Superflex, best ball, Triflex. That's a wild format, brother. You are a brave man. What is Puka's trade value in regards to picks and players? Should I offer Puka Nacua, Anthony Richardson, a second-round pick for the 1-1, 111, 112? Also, Cook is available. So
no, it's not Anthony Richardson. It's just Puka in a second.
Oh, I saw it.
I saw AR too.
I saw the R2.
Yeah.
So
smash
Puka,
the 101.
Yeah, get the 101 there because I understand there's best ball, but Junty's going to put up crazy numbers. In best ball, I like to have a wide net. Like I want my guys at 111 and 112 this year. At this point, Snoog, those picks got through the combine. They improved in value.
And you already know that people are going to take Sanders top 5 in a lot of leagues just because of the draft capital. And you already know like Warren and Loveland are probably going to get bumped up when they get first round draft capital. And you're going to get Burden will get bumped up too if he gets first round. You're going to get one of these stud running backs that we keep talking about. I put out a tweet the other day, Dad. If we can get similar to 2017, like there was, I think, 5 RB1 finishers in that 2017 rookie season. If the big 5, if 3 or 4 of them finishes top 5 to 10 running backs, you are going to get insane return on investment with this running back class with your rookie picks. Imagine drafting Alvin Kamara, CMC, Joe Mixon, who's the other, Kareem Hunt back before he did whatever he did off field to ruin his career. But imagine getting all those guys in like the late first in your rookie draft. That's like you're turning
like when you got
Kyron Williams into. It's like you're turning Kyron Williams into prime Alvin Kamara. It's like, holy crap. Like that's a league changing type move for you.
Well, and at the 110, you could get Kamara in the 110 for Kyron Williams right now. And that's the kind of move. Going back to the Patreon, a bunch of guys made some comments here and I got to read these off. Old Dirty Blair was like, loving the VIP Discord, all these videos. When you guys sign up for VIP, we have rooms that are not available to just basic customers. We have how to rebuild properly. We have a lot of different rookie profiles that you guys are not there. He says we're killing it. And then Jack number 7 Daniels says, is there a full year discount? And yes, there is 10% off when you guys sign up for the full year. If you guys watch on the trade show and the mock draft show, we always have a 50% discount for your first month. So make sure you guys tune in. Snoog, every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we're doing the trade show. Every Wednesday, mock draft shows with Scarface. It's just become a staple that people are looking forward to every week. And I mean, Tuesday and Wednesday during the work week suck. But when I'm done with work, I'm like, let's talk trades.
Me too.
Let's talk rookies. I get so amped up. So
the next 2 weeks are going to be crazy for sure. A lot of rankings and stuff. We're going to be putting out a ton of content. I'm actually going to Florida at the end of the week for a week, but I'm still going to be active, still posting, still in the Discord. Dad knows the grind never stops here, but let's jump into this last wide receiver group, pull up the raw scores for them because they really blew the doors off for themselves. And I think these 3 guys and Jayden Higgins all secured themselves 1, top 10, top 9 rankings in this class for themselves, and 2, day 2 draft capital confirmed. So first, let's jump into Ayomanor. Because you've been liking him for a while.
One of my favorite wide receivers. He's even getting linked to late round 1 draft capital at this point. I think he definitely goes round 2. But what he did at the combine at 6'2", 206 pounds, ran a 4.44 40, a 1.58 10-yard split, 38.5 vert, and a 10.7 broad jump. He balled out. He balled
out.
For a
day 2 guy, that's amazing.
At this point, he could go late round 1, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like I think he is going to move himself. In rookie drafts right now, he's been going late 2nd, early 3rd. I don't think that's gonna hold up. I think he's gonna move up into that late 2nd, even that mid 2nd. In a lot of situations, you're gonna get yourself a nice looking wide receiver 3 that can become a little bit more. Now he's a polished route runner. I think you're getting a pro ready type player. I don't think, it's a kind of guy like we talked about with Giddens where the ceiling is going to be, I think Jalen Royals might have a higher ceiling, but I think Ayomanor he's just going to come in and be just a guy that you can start day 1.
Yeah, pull up his raw score here. He had a 9.67. And like when I watched really his tape, I didn't see this type of athlete. 10-inch hand size. So he's got mitts. I think he's one of those guys that people don't like to hear this, but you had like Traylon Burks and a lot of these other guys playing outside in college football and winning on the outside. But I actually think he projects to be like a power slot at the NFL level. and be more of that Chris Godwin, Juju Smith, Tyler Boyd type player, and be that guy that does the dirty work, catches every football thrown his way through traffic, run blocking, physical player, tracks the ball well. That type of player is what I see with Ayomanor. So I do think his landing spot's going to matter a little bit, but I think he has a really high floor. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but to be a Christian Kirk, a Tyler Boyd, one of those type of guys that can have a couple top 30 seasons, I really see that for him. And his combine confirmed that he can be a player taken in the second round of NFL drafts. So that's something really special to see with a player like that. Jumping
I see a lot of people.
Guy.
I saw a comp that had him at the Rams at 26 to take over that Cooper Kupp role. I think that would be really nice. I think you put him into the right spot. The other guys in this class, I mean, I want to talk real quick about who do you have up next? Jalen Noel. You got Royals. Jalen Noel. He killed the combine. Like, he absolutely killed it. Ranks amongst wide receivers, okay? 41.5-inch vert, first. 11.2-inch broad jump, first. 4.17 shuttle, fifth. 3-cone, 6.82, fifth. 4.39 40, inside that range where you're a guy that's going to, that's top 10 in this class. I think he is really undervalued at this point. I think you're going to see, he's undersized, but the dude's a beast.
Beefy,
I mean, what'd you say he did? Or like, what did he?
He's undersized, but he's beefy. 23 reps of 225,
which slightly beats out Snoog and I in our all-time best. We might do our combine next year. We'll go out and do our 225 reps.
Know who he reminds me a lot of? And I loved his tape. I got to his tape right before the combine, so I didn't really get to put too much opinion on him out there. But again, we have all the way until August to get things right, get players that we like, and figure out who we like. For rookie drafts, we have until April, May-ish to get that part situated. But one of the better tapes that I liked, and he checks every damn box. He's not just a vertical threat with his speed, 4.39 speed, great 10-yard split. He also has that short area ability and that composite grade with his elusiveness and his agility with the shuttle and 3-cone. Again, like, he is one of the 41.5-inch. He's explosive, man. He reminds me of a better Khalil Shakir coming out. Like, that's the type of player that I could see him being. A Christian Kirk, a better Khalil Shakir, a guy that's going to slide in. Like, I could see the Cardinals taking him in round 2, 3 to pair with Marv. Like, he's a guy you take and you pair with an alpha. You go get him, you pair him with an A.J. Brown, a Justin Jefferson, a C.D. Lamb, a Garrett Wilson, a Drake London. The Falcons could take him in round 2. Like, you get him with one of those type of players. He's a great player to kind of work on the other side of the football with, and slot Z, play him a little on the outside, work him in the screen game. Explosive yak player. He's literally going to be what people wanted Rondale Moore to be when Rondale Moore was coming out. And I do think Rondale Moore was too early for his time. Like, he was just coming into the league, where it was kind of like shifting into that more style. But
he was small.
Better he's 4 inches taller than Rondale Moore was, but he's beefy like him. Like, this is a guy I could see in an offense where he's getting jet sweeps and like utilized like that as well. So
that's
he's
why
a skyrocketer for me. He's going to be in my top 6 to 8, I think. Like, I really, really, really like his film. Really,
I think he's going to be, if in the right system, kind of like a Jayden Reed type. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right. That's
Christian Kirk with a little bit more wheels. Jayden Reed, guy that's an elite separator. I like that. And one of your guys, Jalen Royals, also had a nice combine. I mean, he showed what he has. He's someone that you've been high on throughout the entire process. And he confirmed things. He went out with that 4.42 40, 7. He did it inside the top 10. And when you talk about his 20 and his 10-yard splits, a little bit smaller.
It's gross. 149. That's crazy. That's exactly what we saw on film, right? Remember when we were talking about it? We're like, okay, so this guy is a G5 player, but Rashee Rice was. Jayden Reed was a smaller school player. He wasn't a G5. He was at Michigan State, but like, those guys were all wicked explosive yak players. I could see Jalen Royals being like a slant king and being like a yak machine type player. The 40 was great, and the 10-yard split was gross for a guy that's 205 pounds at 6 foot. Like, best case is like a Rashee Rice type. Worst case, I'd say he's like I don't even know, like someone that's just a number 2, number 3 guy in an off. A Tyler Boyd. I think that's another comp that you could kind of see, like one of those type of players. But he's another one. Him, Jalen, Noel, Ayomanor, Jayden Higgins. Like that is your guy. Those are your guys that fill out after your Ted McMillan, Travis Hunter, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, and Trey Harris. It's like those guys are right there next. Like, and that's the 9 guys that you will target in your rookie drafts. Anybody after, don't even waste your time. Just take running backs. That's how it's going to be for me.
I love that. This has been a fun show because I love talking about the combine. I love talking about, how things are going to progress with your rookie drafts. You can put the link down below to the Patreon for Smash Accept Patreon. Make sure you guys join that for a chance to get into the Discord. There were so many questions, honestly, on the group chat over here on the side. We can't get to them all. We try to do structured shows, and then we also try to do shows where we're just going to answer mailbags as well. But the only way to get in there for sure is the super chat. The only way to get access to Snoog and I, we've closed our DMs on Twitter completely. We've been doing a ton of different roster reviews and things like that, but we're exclusively in the Patreon right now. We post up to Twitter, but we just don't have the access to do that because the Patreon has anymore. Yeah, exactly. It's grown so much. So thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the process.